everybody and welcome to Flock Talk. In this tutorial we're going to be teaching your bird to go through a tunnel. Good girl, Mia. So this trick is a very easy one. All we're doing is teaching a bird to target underneath an object. In this case the object is my hand, but you could just as easily roll up some paper or do something like that. This trick is one of the ones that most people will teach their birds first because it is so easy to do, but you will run into quite a few problems, especially if you have a bird with a similar personality to Mia here. Now the reason why I used Mia specifically for this video is because Mia is a very skittish little bird. She doesn't like new things, she doesn't like things hovering over her too much, and it takes a lot of time and patience to get her to that point where she's comfortable to go underneath the hand. And through this video you'll see a lot of points where she hesitates and backs up. So I used her for this video to demonstrate how you can use this as a tool to teach a bird who doesn't like being handled or is afraid of hands to get more comfortable with them within their own boundaries, without forcing the bird to do things and moving way too fast for them. So Mia took to this trick really well. It only took 2 training sessions. I think we did a third just to kind of finesse it a little bit so I could get her to actually run down my arm to do it. But the main point for this is to just take your time. It doesn't matter how fast my birds learn it, it doesn't matter how fast one of your birds learn it over another. Every single bird is going to be different, so remember to move at their pace and don't expect them to learn at a certain pace. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do before I actually get into teaching this trick is I'm going to ask Mia to do things that she's already really good at. I'm going to ask her to wave, I'm going to ask her to target, might get her to turn around. I'm going to get her to do things that I know that she understands really well. And the reason for this is about 3 different things. The first one is that we're starting to train now. She's been flying around her room having fun. I need her in the mindset that we're about to learn. So I always start off a training session with things that she already understands, so that way she knows that we're getting into training, and that way she can kind of turn her mind a little bit into that learning mindset, so that way she's ready to go. The second reason I'm doing this is because we are in a new place that Mia hasn't been on before, or not very often. It's something that's scary, that's different, that's going to be distracting her while we're training, so I want her to be super comfortable. The last reason, there are lights. There are lights everywhere. They are scary, they are huge, she doesn't like them, so I'm taking this time to make sure that she is comfortable with what we're doing so that way she is ready to learn. She can't be learning if she's constantly distracted by things that are scary. So once I feel that Mia is comfortable enough, I'm just going to get her to target the target stick that is laying on the ground. The reason why I'm laying it on the ground is because I just don't have enough hands. So I'm just going to lay it there, I'm going to get her to target it reliably, so that way she can learn without any problems. And what you'll notice I actually goof up on is I lay the target stick down and I don't have anything holding it there. So when Mia goes to target, she accidentally grabs the stick and it scares the heck out of her. And you can start to see just how hesitant she gets when she gets spooked by that stick. She grabs it, she pulls it, she flaps away, and then she's so slow and hesitant to actually touch that stick because it scared her. And so that was my fault. That was something that I messed up when setting up this situation. So what I had to do was I had to go and grab a cup that I knew Mia would be comfortable with and sit it on top of that stick, just so that way that wouldn't happen again. We don't want her constantly scaring herself when it's such an easily preventable thing that we can do. So we're just going to go back to right what we were doing. We're going to start Mia back from the beginning. We're going to lay the stick down now with the cup on top of it, and we're just going to get her to target it over and over and over again. So that way I don't need to be pointing at the stick and guiding her to it anymore. I need to get her back to being really comfortable with that stick because she scared herself. So I'm just going to get her touching the stick again, rewarding her for that, so that way she's all good for running towards that and I can have my hands free to teach the rest of this trick. So once she's got that down, she's all good for targeting, I'm going to introduce my hand in that upside down U shape so that way she can start to learn to run under my hand to get to that cave. So at first, I'm going to start with my hand a little bit farther back, and the stick is going to be out beyond the front of my hand, just that way it's easy and accessible for her. She's not having to worry about my hand. All she's doing is getting used to the presence of it being there and kind of associating it with the treats that she's earning. Once she's touching that, no problems whatsoever, no hesitation, I'm going to shimmy it forwards just a little bit. So the stick is now going to be underneath my hand, and I'm just going to keep asking her to target over and over. And what I'm going to make sure I'm doing is that I'm keeping my hand absolutely still. I do not want to be moving my hand or jerking it in a way that might scare her when she's already a little bit hesitant of the stick and all the lights and everything that's going on right now. So I'm just going to take it slow, I'm just going to stick my hand there, and you can see just how quickly she starts to pick up and starts running towards that target stick because she has no fear of my hand or the stick anymore, and she knows what she's doing. She has that absolute 100% certainty that she just has to run under my hand and touch that stick. So once she's there and she's totally good with touching the stick while it's underneath my hand, I'm going to shimmy it forward just a little bit more, so now it's closer to the back of my hand. This is where you're going to start to see quite a bit more hesitation come out of her, because now she's not just sticking her head in, she's having to stick her head and some of her shoulders, about half of her body underneath my hand. So she's having to do something that might be a little uncomfortable for her, and so she's going to do those things where she starts to put her head in and she pulls it back out, or she takes a second just to look around. And I'm not going to get mad at this, I'm not going to get frustrated, there's no need to be. I'm just going to stay still, I'm going to let her make the decision and kind of evaluate the situation and let her decide whether or not she feels safe enough to proceed with this trick. You'll see her test my hand out a couple times where she just kind of licks it with her tongue, and that's totally fine. We want her to evaluate the situation and decide that she is safe. We don't want to force her, we don't want to get mad at her for taking this time. We want her to know that she's comfortable and able to do whatever she needs to in order to be okay with what's going on in this situation. So once she's totally cool with that, she's moving under my hand, she's getting half her body in. Again, I'm just going to move my hand forward just a little bit more, so now she's having to get almost her entire body underneath my hand. I've been doing this for a little bit now, we're still on like the first training session here, and she's getting more and more comfortable with this. So it's okay for me to move my hand forwards and let her have to go just that little bit further in order to get the stick. Again, making sure I'm keeping my hand still, that I'm not making myself threatening, that I'm keeping my movements very relaxed, that I'm not getting stressed out or mad at her, and I'm just making sure that she's making the decision and that she's still having a good time and she's happy and excited to be running through my hand to get that target stick. So once she's there, I'm going to start moving my hand farther away from the stick. So at this point, two things can happen. Your bird can try and cheat, in which case they'll run around your hand and try and get the target stick. If this happens, what you're going to want to do is back your hand up so that way it's closer to that stick. Let them make the mistake, let them run around your hand and touch it and realize that they get nothing, and then just back your hand up a little bit and get them going through your hand again. Because when they make that mistake, they're going to realize that running around your hand and trying to cheat isn't getting them anywhere. So you're just going to move your hand back until they're back going through your hand instead of running around it in circles. So once your bird is able to have that target stick being that little further distance away where they actually have to completely make it through your hand in order to touch it, you're just going to kind of take it slow here, because this is where the birds are most likely to start to get confused and try and cheat and make mistakes. So you're just going to keep encouraging them and doing what you can to get them to want to come through your hand. You'll see a few times where Mia goes through and backs up because she realizes she doesn't want to be doing this. In those situations, again, I'm just going to keep my hand still. If she gets super, super uncomfortable, move it closer to the stick until they're really good at doing these repetitions. Next, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to remove the target stick from the situation. Now, Mia here already kind of understands that following my hand is going to earn her some form of reward. She knows how to target to my hand because she's done stationing. So with your bird, you may find it best to just take the target stick and slowly shrink it down so it's less and less visible each time. But the main premise of what we're doing here is we're trying to get the target stick out of the situation, because we don't want the cue for this to be the bird following the target stick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start tapping my hand on the other side, and I'm going to let Mia kind of figure out that the target stick is gone. So the main point we're trying to get through here is not following the target stick, it's going underneath the hand. Once she's got this down, I'm going to start delaying me tapping my hand on the table. And the point for this is, I also don't particularly want my hand to be there either. What I want the cue to be is just me putting that U-shape kind of tunnel down on the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap that down first, wait like a half second, and then tap my other hand on the table so that way she's learning that my hand coming down in that U-shape comes down first. And the reason why this is going to start getting through to her, that other cue doesn't need to be followed, is that Mia's going to want that treat as soon as she can possibly get it. If she realizes that there's another thing I'm doing that tells her to do that trick before the trick cue that she's been relying on so far, she's going to want to follow the quickest cue so that way she can earn the treat as fast as she can. She's not going to want to wait around for that second cue to be there if she knows that she can earn it that much faster. So by doing that little bit of a delay between the two different hands, it's slowly going to get into her head that we want her to follow the hand that is coming down in that U-shape on the table, not the other one. And we're just going to slowly delay that other hand more and more, the more the bird is reliably following that little U-shape, until eventually we can get rid of that other hand, which is where I'm at right now. So once Mia's got this point where she doesn't need that other hand there, she's going through my hand super fast, she's doing this reliably, I'm going to stretch her knowledge of this trick, and I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is gradually move that U-shaped hand a little bit farther away from her each time. I want her to understand what this cue looks like from different angles. I want her to understand that the way this cue is presented is not going to be the same every time. And I want to really expand her knowledge of this trick so that way she understands exactly how to respond to this in a variety of scenarios. Once I feel she's gotten that down where I can have my hand at any point on this table and she will run under it, I am going to make it confusing for her. I'm going to ask her to do a bunch of tricks that she already knows, and then I'm going to randomly throw in that U-shaped tunnel and see if she runs through it with the same responsiveness. And at first she's going to be a little slow. It's going to take her a little bit of time to figure out what I'm asking of her. And that's good, because we want her to be thinking. You'll see those points where I put the cue down, she stops, she stands up tall, and she just stares at my hand, kind of thinking, like, oh, I know this, I know what to do, give me a second, I'm figuring this out. And that is beautiful. That is exactly what we want. We want her seeing that hand and thinking about what to do. And it's gonna be a little bit slow to start. She's gonna take a little bit of time to be hesitant, to think about what's happening, but that's exactly what we want. The more we practice this, the more we throw this in with random tricks, and the more we try and get that responsiveness out of her and get her thinking, the faster her responses are going to be, because the more she's going to understand the application of this trick. When we're just isolating it down to only doing repetitions of this trick, of course she's going to understand what to do really well. It's the only thing that she's having to think about, and it's the only thing she's having to look for. If we're throwing in a bunch of other cues and a bunch of other things, she's having to think a little bit harder about what that cue means and what it looks like. And this way what we're doing is we're just kind of getting her a little bit more precise with the way that she's applying this trick and the way that she recognizes it. Whether it's a body movement I do or a word that I say that also helps her along with recognizing what to do, anything is going to work for her as long as she is able to isolate what this trick means when it's jumbled in with a whole lot of other tricks that I'm asking her to do. So what you can see now is at the end of this is Mia is super responsive, she's booking it for my hand, she's going as fast as she can, and that is exactly what we want. That is how we know this bird understands what is happening. That is how we know that she is having fun, she's relaxed, she's comfortable, and she's enjoying everything that she's learned today. Alright, so that's going to do it for this training video. Like I said, it's a pretty simple concept. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience if you've got a bird that's a little bit more nervous like Mia is here, especially when you're working with all of these lights and cameras and new situations that she's not particularly familiar with. So taking it slow, being aware of their body language, as always, I feel like I repeat myself way too often, but always, always, always paying attention to their body language and not forcing them past things that they aren't comfortable doing. Always just take that second to back up and move just that little bit slower. You'll find that the birds will progress so much faster than you expect them to just by taking that half a second, that one little repetition, to back up to where the bird is comfortable. Because that's when they'll realize that this isn't scary, this isn't threatening, and if they're not comfortable, they know that you're going to work with them, not kind of against them and force them into doing things. So like always, take it slow, listen to your bird, and hey, I hope this helps some of you out there. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you had fun with this video. If you have any suggestions for tutorials you would like to see in the future, leave them in the comments down below, and I will try to get to everything as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.